Okay, we're going to look at the idea of a switch statement today. What a switch statement does is a bit similar to a series of if statements. It allows us to check the value of something and then do different things depending on what that value is. But it's a little bit more concise than trying to do it all in a series of if statements. So I'm going to take the example of different levels that you can study at in England. So I'll ask the user to type a level of study between, let's say, 2 and 8. And then what we'll do is we'll print out a message that tells them what sort of level of study that would be. So we've already got an instance of the scanner set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say int level of study, and we'll ask the scanner for an integer. We'll also tell the user before they type it in to please type the level of study. And then we could do something like if level of study is equal to, or we could start 2, we could say this is equivalent to, this is GCSE, okay, and then we could have an else if, and then we could say, oops, and then we'd have another, level of study is equal to 3. This is equivalent A level. Okay, so on and so forth. Okay, so we kind of, you got the idea, but we'd keep going with level 4 for the first year of undergraduate, level 5 second year of undergraduate, level 6 final year of undergraduate studies, level 7 masters, and level 8 PhD. But again, it's quite long, and it would be kind of nice if we could just look for the various values rather than having to check. We're kind of repeating level of study equals level of study equals. If we had more of them, it would continue like that. So what we can do instead is have a switch statement. So if we type switch, and if we hit tab, it will just give us some brackets. And what we do here is we say, what is it that we want to check the value of? So in this case, it's level of study. Okay. Once we've got this, we put in a series of braces. It's giving us a little warning, and it's saying it's empty. So we need to put some stuff in. And the way we do it is we say case, and then we type the thing we want to check equality for. So in this case, we're going to check level of study against 2. We then put a colon, and then here we write any statements that we want to be executed in the case that level of study is 2. Okay, so we might say GCSE level, or just GCSEs. We then, and I'll explain a little bit more about this in a minute, but we then use the break keyword. Okay, that basically means don't execute any more code inside the switch statement. So as soon as we hit a break, we'll jump all the way down to here. Okay. The next thing we do is we then write the next case. So this time we're going to check 3. Okay. This time we're going to print out, this is A levels. And then again we say break, and then we go case 4. Oops. And this time we print, this is first year of undergraduate. In fact, we could actually just give the name of the award. So if you've just did the first year, you'd actually get what's called a Certificate of Higher Education, or Cert HE. Keeps it nice and short for us. Again, we need this break keyword. Then we can do case 5. If you finished after your second year, you get a diploma in higher education, or a DIP HE. Again, we need the break. So you start to see how long this would have been if we'd have done else if statements. Case 6. Oops. Bachelor's degree. Break. Case 7. masters, oops, need my quotation marks. Can get a bit confused if you put the quotation marks in at the end first because it likes to think you're going to put another one. I spelled bachelor's wrong. There we go. Try and fix that. Break, and then case 8, and this would be a doctorate. Now, if this is the last thing, we wouldn't need a break, but we also want to take into account what happens if they type, for example, a 1. I think there is a qualification at level 1, but I'm not entirely sure what it is. But they might type a number that's not valid. Okay, and we want to be able to handle those. So to do that, we can add what's called a default clause. This is executed if none of the other conditions are met. And I'll put possibly, because I think level 1 might be a real level of study, possibly not a valid level of study. We could put a break statement, but there's no more code to execute, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so if we try this out, we can run it. We'll start by putting an invalid level of study, I don't know, -5. We get this possibly not a valid level of study. Okay, if I run it again, but this time give it a valid level of study, so you're studying at level 4. So if you complete level 4, you could get a certificate of higher education. One thing that's worth noting is we put all these break statements in. If we don't have the break statement, what happens is the code continues to execute down to the next statement. Okay, so here, if I take the break out after 4 and run it again and type 4, it will print both of those out. Okay, now we can make an argument why that might be valid, because we might say, well, actually, you're studying at degree level at levels 4, 5, and 6, so we could actually take out these statements here and have it such that if they enter 4, 5, or 6, they're working towards a bachelor's degree. So if we try that again, as you'd expect with 6, we get a bachelor's degree, but if we run it again and do 4, we also get a bachelor's degree. Okay, there are some limitations. Okay, so in terms of what things you can switch on, you can switch on strings in Java. Not all languages allow you to switch on strings. You can switch on characters on the char data type, and you can switch on integers and long integers and shorts and any type of integer, as opposed to just not just the int type, any type of integer. But you can't switch on things like doubles or floating or floats. So anywhere where there's essentially an infinite range, of values, it's only where there's a discrete value. So that's the switch case statement. It is the syntax is a little bit tricky. It's one of the things that took me quite a while to learn. Essentially, it's switch the thing you're comparing about. So in each case, we're doing, in this case, level of study. Is it equal to 2? If it is, do this. Is it equal to 3? If it is, do that. But it's actually do that and keep going until you reach a break. So if it's equal to 4, it keeps going, does this, and then breaks. And then if you've not met the condition, then it will do what comes after default. And as I say, because we're at the end here, there's no need. If you like to, it won't do any harm to have a break statement there, but that break statement is essentially redundant. If you don't have, can we get away with that default clause? Let's find out. We can comment it out. Not all languages allow you to not target every condition, but we're okay in Java. So you don't have to have a default clause. But again, it's not necessarily a bad idea to put break after your statements in case you end up adding another. You know, if for example we'd done this and then they invented a level of study above doctorate, you might forget to put the break in when you put 9 in. So it's probably a good idea to leave it in.